Morning. So just kind of start off here. We had a transaction this morning. We traded Michael Roberts this morning. Again, roster movement is something that's pretty common at this time of year, and we're always going to try to do what's in the best interest of the team for us, both the short term and the long term, to try to make us, as competitive as possible. Obviously, with the tight end position, in conversation here, we have good competition in the room right now. We had an opportunity to, move on from Mike and hopefully potentially get something in the future for it. So it was a good opportunity for us as a team to do that and to build our team long term. There's always situations too, sometimes when roster movement happens, there's other positions that may affect the overall total number. We are currently at 89. We are not at 90. So we do have an open roster spot at the moment. It's really kind of it on that, topic. It's kind of, happens a lot. Roster movement happens every day. So with that being said, today will be our last OTA practice. Really looking forward to kind of try to pull some things together here. We're in the fourth week of, OTAs, finishing up mini camp last week, as we were talking about before, working through different situations of the game, getting closer to, trying to play more realistic type football situations through the course of practice by down and distance, field position, game situations, things like that. So it'll be a little bit more of a practice where you'll see a lot of that kind of movement in and out between offense, defense, special teams, things that correlate maybe more to game type situations, communication, execution, and basic awareness of kind of the situation. So should be a pretty good day. See what the weather looks like, but that's all right. We're gonna go outside and get some practice in. Okay. Questions?
You do have in the tight end room. What have you seen now? You've had Logan Thomas around a few weeks from him in particular.
Yeah. You know what? Obviously, someone we're learning here as we go through the spring. Really smart guy. I think his background as a quarterback helps him from an overall concept understanding of different positions. A guy that can do a lot of things out there on the field. Certainly, spring evaluation is always one thing, and we'll see what it takes to look like when we get the pads on. But as far as a guy that comes in every single day, does what he's asked to do, works really hard, has learned the playbook very quickly, from a information standpoint, his execution has been really good from that aspect of it so far through the spring. So, guy we're excited about, and we'll just kind of see how it goes as we progress through, just like all the guys in that room in that situation. Like you had one.
Yeah. Was that something once you drafted TJ and Isaac, was that when that kind of started happening where you're like, all right, this is maybe an overloaded room?
Sure. No, I wouldn't say you kind of go immediately into that mode, because you don't really know how things are going to go through the course of the spring. You obviously always want to try to evaluate your players as much as you can and try to keep as many good players as you can and evaluate them as you go through. Sometimes opportunities come up in different facets, and maybe the direction of the team might change, or things might change from a schematic standpoint, or points of emphasis might change as you work through the last 4 weeks. It's our good opportunity here to evaluate everybody over 4 weeks and see what we have on that side of the ball, on all sides of the ball, in every position room. And like I said, with the roster, sometimes movement on a roster in general can be affected not only by that position room, but also other positions that are also out on the field. Whether those are positions that we say we need to add some extra guys, or, as we gear towards training camp, what does our practice depth look like in order to get through practice, and some of the things that we need to do based on, guys' availability, which, we'll have better answers as we get towards training camp, the start of training camp, to see what that all looks like. In general, I don't mind going at this time of year with 89 on the roster and having an extra roster spot available, just because, there will be some sort of movement here by all teams over the course of the next several weeks. And I think, in general, it gets a little bit difficult as you go on break and you're not around the facility, and, you don't have an opportunity to get a hold of guys and actually, explain what's going on. Sometimes it's an okay philosophy to go in with 89. And, if you're adding somebody, you're just adding someone at that point. Not releasing anybody also.
Is to just kind of give yourself that flexibility,
yep.
Or
sure.
Or are there positions that you're looking at right now that you're like, I need
yep.
X?
Both. It definitely, from just a general philosophy standpoint, it's good to have the flexibility, in that position, because there's going to be movement coming up in the next couple of weeks. But we will always evaluate our roster, and we are in a position where we're saying, all right, well, do we want to add someone in this position, or do we want to add another player in this position? And we'll take the next couple of weeks to look at it and see if there's somebody out there that we do feel like we do want to add. Yep.
Obviously, Jerome Cunningham was here a little bit last year, but kind of unique situation, and I don't know other than maybe a quarterback where you kind of wipe the slate clean in an entire position. Are there any challenges in doing that at tight end?
You know what? I think there probably are in certain situations. I guess for us right now, we're just trying to get the best players we can in each position. I would say on the offensive side of the ball, everything has kind of been a start of anew with, you know, the additional of Darrell Bevel and kind of a new system. So at this point, it's all kind of start over from that aspect of it. So we're just kind of progressing from the last 4 weeks, doing our evaluations, and then moving forward. So, you know, nothing unusual as far as that.
Wide receivers another position where you really have numbers and competition and all that. How do you, separate out the final couple of spots there, and where does a guy like Andy Jones, who's shown something, might fit in that regard?
Sure. You know, I mean, obviously at this time of year, it's hard to kind of get through final separation until we go through training camp and kind of see evaluation of what everybody looks like as we get towards, you know, we put the pads on and we get into camp and we evaluate. I think Andy in general, obviously, is someone that's been around here that has worked extremely hard. He's been very adaptable to, you know, a lot of different positions that he's been asked to play. He's a guy that can go in multiple different facets of the game on offense. Obviously, you know, special teams is a big part of what he does also, which is a big contribution to what he does. He's a big guy. He's strong. He's powerful. He's tough. He's smart. So those are all good attributes that will allow him to go in and compete. And, you know, in the end, we'll see how it all plays itself out. But certainly doing everything he can to increase his value on our team, absolutely.
Along those same lines, quarterback looks like a spot where you could have some pretty good competition as well. Just curious, you know, a guy you guys went after, Rashawn Melvin, just maybe what he's shown you this spring, how he kind of fits in the mix.
Yeah, and another guy that I've had familiarity with from before. He's a big, long corner. He's a guy that familiar with the different techniques and the fundamentals that, you know, we've played through the course of the years. He's a guy that kind of naturally just kind of falls into some of the scheme things that we do and some of the stuff that we do on the field. Tough guy, another guy that really kind of works extremely hard every single day. So you want as much competition as possible out there. You know, I think the corner position's always an interesting one, especially, you know, it correlates hand in hand with the wide receiver position. And as we've all seen through the course of the years, there's some big, fast, strong wide receivers that keep coming out of college and are producing in the league. So certainly you want to have the best matchup possible when you can at the corner position on those guys. Doesn't always mean that the physical stats are the same. You know, obviously, however they play and compete at that position is most important. But he's just another guy that, you know, gives us a great opportunity to go out there and compete at that position.
Housekeeping things before you break for the summer. First, with in regards to Slay and Harrison, what have they communicated to you, or what are your expectations, I guess, for whether they'll be here for the start of training?
Sure. Again, you know, I think I've addressed that issue. I'm just going to really focus on the guys that are here as far as that's concerned and talk about them and whatever communications we have with players in those situations are, you know, kept private between us and the player. So, you know, look, when we get back for training camp, we always obviously expect everybody to be where they're supposed to be when they're there, and you know, we deal with it and we go from there. So I don't really look into that too much.
And then the other one, I don't. You sort of talked about this a little bit, just in vague terms, general terms, the other week, but. Can you explain what you did the last 2 days? You know how you don't always use your OTA days. You can go back to revert to a day two, or a phase 2 day.
Sure.
Just, you know, the thought process, I guess, behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a little bit kind of philosophy-wise, and we do things a little bit different where we do our mandatory the previous week, right? A lot of teams do it the last week, and a lot of teams through the course of OTAs will change up a last day in the, you know, spring or do something along those lines. I always felt that it's better to do that with a OTA day based on the rules and everything that you're kind of restricted by, as opposed to a mandatory minicamp day where you have the maximum amount of time with the players and on the field and all that stuff and try to utilize all that time. So we do that the third week. And then, you know, as you get into the fourth week, as you do decide to try to maybe change pace or see how you are as far as on schedule, not on schedule with your installation and your development and where the players are, where the health of your team is at that point of the year. You know, you try to analyze what's best. And, you know, if you want to change things up, it's okay. You're not, you know, you're just utilizing or moving an OTA day. You're also by rule allowed to schedule OTA days, you know, for in the last week. So we'll always maximize that time from a scheduling standpoint and then just be ready to monitor and adjust based on what the team you know, needs, what it looks like, what it feels like, or whether opportunities come up that we think are good for the team from that standpoint. So just having the flexibility, I guess, is the best thing for us to be able to not have everything so set in stone where we can move things around based on, you know, what's best.
set with joint practices for Patriots and Texans?
You know what? I think we're kind of waiting on some information, as we kind of push through the spring here. So we're just kind of working through some of those situations and possibilities right now. You know what? I don't really know. We'll get there when we get there.
What was your sense? What was your kind of follow on that?
Sure.
What was your sense of relief when you didn't get Hard Knocks?
My sense of relief when we didn't get Hard Knocks. Again, like I think I've talked about Hard Knocks. I think that everybody at the NFL Films does a great job. So, those guys are one of the reasons that I fell in love with the game. There was a great video that came out a long time ago called Crunch Course. It was one of the ones that I remember most, and I love the history of that, and the message of it was awesome at the time. And for us, we're just focused on exactly what affects us right now, and right now it's finishing off the spring well and getting ready for training camp.
What ways do you think or know your team's better than this time a year ago as you go into the gap before training camp?
You know what? It's a great question. I don't know. It's hard to compare, right? Like I don't really know where we were last year compared to where we were this year because it really doesn't matter until what the end results are. So for us, we're working in a good direction. I feel good about where we are. I feel good about practice and what we've been able to accomplish from that standpoint. You always feel better second year than you do the first year. So I would say and like to say that we're ahead of where we were last year, but really, in the end, we'll find out when we get to the fall. One more. Yeah.
Reporters, players is the time of year when we get some downtime.
Sure.
You personally, I mean, how do you approach these 4 or 5 weeks? Do you actually take some time to dial down?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of hard, right? You'd like the downtime. Obviously, the family time is the most important thing, but you're also about to step into a very high-speed world when you get back into training camp. So it's a delicate balance, but family's most important.